When people think about the moments that change a life, they usually imagine something dramatic, a groundbreaking achievement, a major breakthrough, or a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But I've learned that the biggest transformations often begin quietly. They begin with a conversation, a smile, a shared dream, or simply meeting one person who sees something in you that you haven't fully discovered in yourself yet. That's what happened when I met you. I don't think you ever truly realized how much you changed me, because most of the changes happened where no one else could see them. Before you came into my life, I measured progress in milestones. I thought success was about moving faster, building more, solving bigger problems, and always looking toward the next horizon. I believed that if I could accomplish enough, I would eventually feel complete. But loving you forced me to ask a different question. What is the point of reaching extraordinary destinations if there's no one meaningful to share the journey with? That question changed everything. It didn't make me less ambitious. It gave my ambition a heart. You taught me that strength isn't only about enduring impossible challenges. Sometimes strength is being honest when it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's admitting fear instead of hiding behind confidence. Sometimes it's choosing patience when your instincts tell you to rush ahead. Those aren't lessons you can learn from books or business plans. They come from loving another human being deeply enough that their happiness begins to matter as much as your own. You probably never noticed the small ways you reshaped my thinking. You made me slow down long enough to appreciate ordinary moments that I once overlooked. A simple conversation after a long day, a quiet drive with no destination, laughing about something completely insignificant until it became unforgettable. Those moments didn't seem important while they were happening, but looking back, I realized they were the moments that gave meaning to everything else I was chasing. There were times when I failed you. There were moments when I became so focused on the future that I forgot to fully live in the present. If I could revisit those days, I wouldn't change the dreams we pursued, but I would hold your hand a little longer. I would listen more carefully. I would remember that time is the one resource no amount of success can ever buy back. That's a lesson I learned because of you, and it's one I'll carry for the rest of my life. Even the difficult chapters became teachers. Every disagreement forced me to understand myself better. Every misunderstanding revealed where I still needed to grow. Every obstacle reminded me that love isn't tested when everything is easy. It's tested when life becomes uncertain. Looking back now, I don't see wasted time. I see a season that shaped my character in ways comfort never could. And perhaps the greatest gift you gave me wasn't confidence, inspiration, or happiness. It was perspective. You reminded me that behind every goal, every dream, and every achievement is a human heart searching for connection, purpose, and someone who believes in them. You became part of my story in a way that no distance, no passing years, and no changing circumstances can erase. So if you've ever wondered whether you mattered, whether your presence truly made a difference, let me answer that without hesitation. You changed my life in ways I may spend the rest of my years discovering, and that is a gift no ending can ever take away. If there's one thing I've come to understand, it's that the greatest love isn't built on perfection. It's built on truth. We spend so much of our lives trying to appear stronger, smarter, calmer, or more put together than we really are. We wear masks because we're afraid that if someone sees every flaw, every fear, every insecurity, they'll decide we're not enough. But real love doesn't begin when two perfect people find each other. It begins the moment two imperfect people stop pretending. When I first looked at you, I didn't imagine someone who would never make mistakes. I saw someone who was beautifully human. Someone who had dreams, doubts, scars, hopes, and questions just like I did. That's what made you extraordinary. Not because you were flawless, but because you were real. And somewhere along the way, I realized that authenticity creates a stronger foundation than perfection ever could. The truth is, every meaningful relationship will face moments that test it. There will be misunderstandings. There will be difficult conversations that neither person wants to have. There will be seasons when life feels overwhelming, and both people are carrying burdens the other can't fully see. Those moments don't mean love has failed. They reveal whether love is strong enough to grow. Steel isn't tested in comfort, it's tested under pressure. Relationships are no different. I also have to be honest about myself. There were times when I convinced myself that solving problems was the same as understanding emotions. I approached challenges with logic because logic had always helped me move forward. But hearts don't always follow equations. Sometimes the person you love isn't asking for the perfect answer. They're asking to know they're not alone. That took me longer to understand than it should have. If I ever made you feel unheard, If I ever allowed my focus on tomorrow to make you feel less important today, I want you to know that those moments were never a reflection of your worth. They were reminders of where I still needed to grow. Loving someone means accepting that growth doesn't stop the day the relationship begins. In many ways, that's when the real work starts. I believe honesty is one of the greatest acts of respect we can offer another person. Honest conversations aren't always comfortable, but comfort has never been the source of meaningful progress. Growth comes when we're willing to tell the truth with kindness, to admit when we're wrong without defending our pride, and to listen without preparing our next argument. Those moments require courage because they ask us to value the relationship more than our own ego. I've learned that saying I'm sorry doesn't make someone weak. Saying I was wrong doesn't reduce your strength. Admitting fear doesn't diminish your confidence. In fact, those are often the moments when a person becomes the strongest version of themselves. Strength isn't pretending to have all the answers. Strength is remaining open enough to keep learning. Perfection creates distance because it isn't real. It builds expectations no one can sustain. But truth creates connection. Truth says, this is who I am today, and I'm committed to becoming better tomorrow. That's the kind of promise that lasts. It's not built on impossible standards, it's built on consistent effort, mutual respect, and the willingness to keep choosing each other through changing seasons. So if there's one lesson I hope stays with you long after these words are gone, it's this. Never search for someone who appears perfect. Search for someone who has the courage to be truthful, because a love built on truth will always outlast a fantasy built on perfection. And if this is where our paths begin to separate, then I hope we can do something that isn't easy, something that the world rarely celebrates. I hope we can say goodbye without bitterness. Not because the pain isn't real, and not because the memories suddenly stop mattering, but because what we shared deserves better than becoming a battlefield. Love should never end by destroying the very people it once helped build. I've seen how easy it is for endings to become competitions. Who moved on first? Who cared less? Who won the breakup? But love was never meant to produce winners and losers. If two people once looked at each other with hope, if they once believed they could build a future together, then reducing that history to resentment is a tragedy. It doesn't erase the good moments. It only makes it harder to appreciate that they ever existed. The truth is, not every story ends the way we imagine. Sometimes two people love each other deeply, but life pulls them in different directions. Sometimes timing refuses to cooperate. Sometimes fears grow louder than dreams. And sometimes both people try their best, yet still find themselves standing at a crossroads they never expected to reach. That's one of the hardest realities to accept, because we're taught that enough love should solve everything. But love by itself cannot replace communication. It cannot replace trust. It cannot replace the daily choice to grow together. If we have reached a point where holding on only creates more pain than peace, then perhaps the bravest thing we can do is release each other with dignity. That doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending none of this mattered. It means respecting what we had enough to let it remain something beautiful instead of forcing it to become something broken. I don't want to remember you through the lens of our hardest days. I want to remember your laughter. I want to remember the conversations that stretched late into the night, the dreams we whispered when no one else was listening, the moments when the world felt smaller because we were facing it together. Those memories deserve to live without being poisoned by anger. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. People think forgiving means agreeing with everything that happened or pretending the hurt wasn't real. It doesn't. Forgiveness simply means refusing to let yesterday control tomorrow. It means choosing freedom over endless emotional debt. Carrying resentment is like trying to build the future while dragging an anchor behind you. Eventually, the weight becomes heavier than the pain that created it. I also forgive myself. I forgive the moments when I didn't have the wisdom I have now. I forgive the decisions made from fear instead of understanding. Growth requires honesty, but it also requires compassion. We cannot become better people if we spend every day punishing ourselves for the people we used to be. And I hope you do the same. Don't carry guilt for every imperfect moment. Don't spend years replaying conversations, wondering if one different sentence could have rewritten our entire story. We made the best decisions we could with the understanding we had at the time. That's what being human looks like. We learn, we stumble, we rise, and we keep moving forward. If one day our lives cross again, I don't want strangers filled with old wounds to meet. I want two people who can smile with genuine gratitude, knowing they were once an important chapter in each other's lives. Even if we never meet again, I hope the thought of us brings peace instead of pain, because the greatest proof that love was real is not how fiercely we held on, it's how gracefully we let go when holding on was no longer the kindest choice. There is one thing I need you to promise me, no matter what happens after today. Never let the ending of our story become the definition of your value. A single chapter, no matter how beautiful or painful, is never the entire book. Too many people walk away from a relationship believing that if it didn't last forever, then somehow they weren't enough. I don't want you to carry that burden, because it simply isn't true. You were never valuable because someone loved you. You were valuable long before we met, while we walked through life together, and you will remain valuable long after our paths separate. Your worth has never depended on a relationship, a title, or another person's ability to recognize what you bring into the world. Real worth is something that exists long before anyone applauds it and continues to exist even when no one is watching. I know how easy it is to question yourself after heartbreak. You replay conversations in your mind. You wonder if you should have spoken differently, loved differently, waited longer, or tried harder. The mind has a way of turning pain into endless questions, searching for one perfect answer that will make everything make sense. But life doesn't always give us perfect explanations. Sometimes the only thing we can do is accept that two good people can reach an ending without either of them losing their value. If there were moments when you felt unseen, I hope you never confuse that feeling with your identity. Being misunderstood does not make you unworthy. Being disappointed does not make you unlovable. Facing an ending does not erase everything beautiful about who you are. Diamonds don't lose their value because someone failed to recognize them. The truth remains the truth, whether it is acknowledged or ignored. I hope you continue chasing the dreams you once shared with me, and the new dreams you'll discover without me. I hope you keep laughing without feeling guilty. I hope you wake up one morning and realize that your heart is lighter than it was the day before. Healing rarely arrives all at once. It comes quietly through ordinary mornings, unexpected smiles, meaningful conversations, and the decision to keep moving forward even when progress feels invisible. Don't allow fear to convince you that love was your only opportunity for happiness. Life has an incredible way of opening doors we never knew existed. Sometimes the path we resist the most becomes the one that reveals our greatest strength. Every ending creates space for a beginning that couldn't have happened otherwise. That doesn't mean the loss wasn't painful. It means pain doesn't get the final word. Keep learning, keep growing, keep becoming the person you were always capable of becoming. Read the books that challenge you. Visit the places you've always wanted to see. Build something meaningful. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your growth instead of fearing it. The world needs people who continue to believe in possibility, even after disappointment. And when you look in the mirror, don't search for the person who lost a relationship. Look for the person who had the courage to love with an open heart. That is never a weakness. In a world where many people hide behind walls, choosing to love is one of the bravest things anyone can do. One day, you'll realize that this chapter didn't diminish your story, it expanded it. It taught you resilience, revealed your strength, and reminded you that your future has never been limited by your past. So walk forward with your head high, because your worth was never written by one ending. It was written by the extraordinary person you choose to become every single day. More than anything else, my greatest hope is that you find a life filled with peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from everything going exactly as planned, because life rarely works that way. I mean the deeper kind of peace, the kind that stays with you even when the future is uncertain, when the world is noisy, and when the road ahead asks more questions than it answers. That kind of peace is one of the rarest things a person can ever possess, and if I could leave you with one gift, it would be that I hope you wake up each morning without carrying the weight of yesterday on your shoulders. I hope you stop measuring your future by your past and start believing that every sunrise is another opportunity to create a life that feels honest to who you are. We all make mistakes, we all lose things we thought we'd never lose, but none of those moments are meant to become permanent addresses. They're lessons, not destinations. I hope you never settle for a life that only looks successful from the outside. The world has a way of convincing us that happiness is something we can collect through achievements, possessions, or the approval of other people. But I've learned that external success means very little if your mind is restless every night. Real success is being able to close your eyes knowing you've lived according to your values, treated people with kindness, and remained true to yourself even when it wasn't easy. Wherever life takes you, choose people who bring calm instead of chaos. Choose conversations that inspire growth instead of feeding fear. Choose relationships where honesty is welcomed, respect is mutual, and love doesn't require you to become someone you're not. Never shrink yourself just to fit into someone else's expectations. The right people won't ask you to become smaller. They'll encourage you to become more fully yourself. I also hope you continue to stay curious about life. Keep asking questions. Keep exploring new ideas. Keep believing that tomorrow can be better than today. Progress has always belonged to people who refuse to let disappointment become the end of their story. Every remarkable journey begins with someone deciding that even after failure, uncertainty, or heartbreak, there is still something worth building. And when difficult days inevitably come, and they will, I hope you remember that storms are temporary. Don't make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. Give yourself time. Give yourself grace. Some answers only become clear after you've walked through the uncertainty instead of trying to escape it. Growth is often invisible while it's happening, but one day you'll look back and realize the person who once doubted everything has quietly become someone capable of handling far more than they ever imagined. If you ever think about me, I don't want it to be with sadness. I hope you remember that someone once believed in you completely. Someone saw your strength even when you questioned it. Someone admired your heart, your resilience, your ability to keep loving despite life's imperfections. Those truths don't disappear simply because circumstances change, and if one day someone else walks into your life and loves you with sincerity, don't hold back because of old fears. Don't let yesterday steal tomorrow's possibilities. Love was never meant to become a reason to stop living. It was meant to teach us how deeply the human heart is capable of caring. So this is what I wish for you. Not endless comfort, not a life without challenges, but a life where your heart remains light, your purpose remains clear, your hope never fades, and your peace becomes so unshakable that no ending can ever take it away. And if these are truly my final words to you, then I don't want them to be filled with sadness. I don't want them to be remembered as the words of someone who lost love. I want them to be remembered as the words of someone who was fortunate enough to experience it. Because in the end, that is what matters most. Not how our story ended, not how many years we had, but the fact that, for a moment in this vast and unpredictable universe, two lives found each other and chose to walk the same road. Life has taught me that nothing meaningful comes with guarantees. Every dream carries risk. Every ambition demands sacrifice. Every relationship asks us to be vulnerable in ways that can never be completely safe. We often spend so much time trying to protect ourselves from loss that we forget the greater tragedy is never allowing ourselves to love deeply in the first place. If there is one thing I have no regrets about, it is that I loved you with sincerity. Even if our journey wasn't forever, it was real. And real things always leave a mark. I hope you never measure our story by its ending. Measure it by the person it helped you become. Measure it by the courage it awakened inside you, the kindness it strengthened, and the hope it gave you during moments when life felt uncertain. Relationships are not simply destinations we either reach or fail to reach. They are classrooms. They reveal our strengths, expose our weaknesses, and challenge us to become better than we were yesterday. As I look back, I don't see perfection, I see growth. I see moments where we laughed until nothing else mattered. I see mistakes that became lessons. I see dreams we built together, even if some of them remained unfinished. I see two imperfect people trying to create something meaningful in a world that rarely makes anything easy. And somehow, knowing all of that brings me peace instead of regret. If there is one lesson I hope you carry into every future chapter, it is this: never stop believing in love. Not because love guarantees a perfect ending, but because it transforms the person who is willing to give it honestly. Don't let disappointment convince you that closing your heart is wisdom. A protected heart may avoid pain, but it also misses the extraordinary moments that make life worth living. The bravest people are not those who never get hurt. They are the ones who continue to believe that goodness is still worth choosing. Remember that time keeps moving whether we are ready or not. The conversations we postpone, the forgiveness we delay, the appreciation we leave unspoken, those opportunities don't always wait for us. Tell people what they mean to you while they can still hear it. Hold someone's hand a little longer. Say thank you more often. Apologize when your pride tells you not to. Celebrate the ordinary days, because one day you'll realize they were the extraordinary ones all along. And when you stand at the edge of a new beginning, don't carry this chapter as a weight on your shoulders. Carry it as wisdom in your heart. Let it remind you that you are capable of loving with honesty, growing through difficulty, and finding light even after darkness. Those are victories no ending can erase. So if these are the last words you ever hear from me, let them be the simplest and the truest. Thank you for changing my life. Thank you for teaching me what truly matters. And thank you for proving that the greatest measure of a life is not how much we achieve, but how deeply we choose to love before our time runs out.